John 13:34 and 35. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another as I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love one for one another. I think that is one of my favorites because it's so important to care for one another and love one another. It'll help you remain patient and kind and be able to communicate and be around anyone that you come across, and you never know when someone needs a smile or a friendly face. So I find it very important.
Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. I really like that verse because it lifts me up whenever I feel down, and it really makes me not feel alone.
Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. This is my favorite verse because it shows you that God has a plan for you and He wants you to have a successful future.
Matthew 7:13 through 14. Enter through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. I like this verse because it's very straightforward and it tells you to trust God no matter what you do.
My favorite verse is Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. I like this verse a lot because it just reminds me that I can just rely on God, that He understands, and that's all I really need to know.
My favorite verse is 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatsoever ye do, do all to the glory of God. This is one of my favorite verses because it reminds me of Camp Galilee. It reminds me of the safety and everything that I feel here, how I can get closer to God here, and how every person that here helps further my path to God, and there's no judgment ever here.
As our group started talking about what we wanted to do for our own devotional, we were trying to come up with an idea, and I asked the question of, do any of you have a favorite verse or a favorite passage that maybe we could base this off of? And I immediately got 5 different answers from each of them. And then we came to realize that in itself is something we can talk about, because this week we've talked a lot about prayer here at camp, and the other side of communicating with God from prayer is reading the scripture, because in a lot of ways that is His response to us. That's where we go for our answers. And it's important that every person take the time to read the Bible anytime they get the chance, because every person reads it differently, understands it differently, and takes something different away. Every single one of them had a different favorite verse, a different favorite section, and I'm sure that most of you listening probably have a different favorite verse that they didn't just already say. And that really just goes to show how important it is to take time, read the Bible, because that's God's way of speaking to you individually as well.